Not too much has changed in the time that we've been away. I believe James is still in the area scratching around for Sindile, and I'm sure he'll come right there in the next little bit. But what we do have is one of the little cubs that's just having a little grooming session. So you can see there it's got its little tongue out, which has got those rough little hooks, and it's just getting rid of any little loose bits of fur or any little parasites that may have crawled onto it during the day. There's a little one stretching in the background, big yawn. Oh, and here it comes over to mom. Oh no, and we've just flopped down. Lost the will to move there, unfortunately. I think, again, a little bit hot for these little ones. This will be their first taste of summer. We've had very nice cool temperatures up to about a week ago, and all of a sudden the temperature has really spiked, and so these little ones will not be quite used to these hot afternoons, and so I can imagine sitting around in these hot days is taking it out of them a little bit, and so there's a lot of flopping around and taking a few steps and falling down again. So Debbie would like to know why there is such a big difference between the Nkuhumas and the sticks, and whether the fact that there are more Nkuhuma females gives them a ability to catch more food and to be able to look after the cubs better. Now, while that may be the case, I don't think so. The biggest difference between the Nkuhumas and the sticks currently is that the sticks have what's called mange. All right, they have been contracted this little mite that lives in their fur, and unfortunately that mite drives them to itch constantly, and they scratch, and they spend too much time scratching that they're not really focusing on what else is going on. They don't suckle as much from mom, as well as the fact that the little mite sucks from their blood and causes them to dehydrate and emaciate very, very quickly. And so that is the main difference. If you have a look at all of the lines that we see here, the females and the little cubs, none of them are showing those little black patches that we see on the sticks females as well as their little cubs. And so that is probably the biggest reason why there's such a big difference between the health. You know, the sticks females, from what I've seen over the last few weeks, they've been quite successful and have caught quite a number of buffalo. So it's nothing to do with the amount of nutrition. It's more just to do with this mange that has unfortunately infected all the little cubs. And the problem with mange is that mange comes from when an animal touches and comes into contact with one another. And as we've seen with these little cubs while we've been with them now, is there's lots of little touching and rubbing up on one another. And so the mange jumps from one to the other. And that's why it has spread so quickly through that pride. We just have a look there, two little ones suckling quite intently, even got their eyes closed. They're so happy with life. Not a bad deal to be a little cub in a successful pride like this. Oh, and we've got a little one that's got a little stick over there. Dave, I don't know if you can see it. Yes. So let the game begin. Now these little ones are obviously teething, and so things like sticks are the best game that there can be. They go and grab the little stick and they'll bite it and chew it, as well as using those paws. And while it looks like all innocent fun now, that is a great way for these little cubs to learn. So as they're going on in life and they're able to start hunting and catching animals, the way that they grip the stick, the way that they bite it, is all going to come in handy later in life. Isn't it just the cutest thing though? So Aaron from New Zealand would like to know what coalition I've spent the most amount of time with. Well, Aaron, that's quite an interesting question. I would imagine currently would probably be the Majingalans would probably be the most. I have spent quite a bit of time with the Birminghams, the Matimbas, the Hilders Rock males when they were still alive, the Charleston males. But I would imagine the Majingalans, they were around when I trained at Singita, as well as in the times that I was here up in Cheetah. They were the dominant coalition in our area, so we used to see them very, very regularly. So I would say that it was the Majingalans, but lately, obviously, we've been seeing the Birminghams quite a bit, so it's been quite nice to get to know them and to be able to spend a bit of time with them. And talking of the Birminghams, we have one that is lying right here in front of us, and he's being a very naughty boy at the moment. He keeps dropping little bombs of gas, which is quite unpleasant. So luckily we don't have a thing as smell-o-vision, because there is a lovely smell emanating from him as we sit here. But he needs to stop that now because it's quite off-putting. Maybe let's go to the cub on the left. So Roger would like to know if I'm aware of any nearby nomadic coalitions. Well, Roger, I don't know of any that are a serious threat at this stage. There are a couple of young males in the prides to our south and our east, southwest, in the Salala pride, as well as in the breakaway Mangane pride. But those males are still with the females, and so no real threat to these guys just yet. Obviously, we have no idea what is sitting in the Kruger National Park at this stage. There could be quite a number of males that are coming in from that side, or from the Timbavati to our north, the Manyeleti Game Reserve. But within the Sabi Sands currently, there is no real young coalitions that could challenge the dominance of the 4 Birminghams. Even if the 3 Salala males or the 3 Mangane males had to come up into this area, it would still be 3 youngsters against 4 bigger, stronger males, and I highly doubt that they would really take or provide too much opposition for the Birminghams. Now that is a great news for us, because currently this area that we're in, unfortunately, has gone through quite a number of coalitions in the years, some that have been only around for a very short period of time, and so unfortunately the females haven't had a very successful run of it in producing and giving cubs and growing the prides. And so these guys, being young males, the Birminghams, that have settled in here, and there's no real sort of threat from any coalitions around us, is going to make, hopefully, for some very successful litters going forward, which will be great news for the area and great news for the prides that we see. Now there's one little one there that you guys can see is having a field day with a ball of elephant dung. You can imagine that little bit of dung gives way a little bit, and it's quite tacky, so digging those claws in is quite the game. And we've gotten bored of the elephant dung and now onto the tree. So we're going to chew the tree for a while, maybe push the tree away, don't want that, sorry. Not cool. So speaking of trees, we are going to now link back to James. I believe he's showing us his acrobatic skills and has been able to find a tree of his own.